G'day everybody, Peter here from the Property Club, and today I'm going to discuss with you something of importance, of extreme importance. Usually I discuss all the positive things about property in the Philippines, but today I'm going to discuss the pitfalls, 10 pitfalls about buying property in the Philippines. The first issue I want to discuss is number 10. So number 10 is surveyor issues. So the issue you have is if you don't get a proper survey plan when purchasing your property in the Philippines, perhaps you're buying a townhouse or a house or something of that nature, the seller might say, hey, look at all this land, look at this vast land that we have here. It's a full acre and you're going to get this house and this acre. And after purchasing it, guess what? You find out that the land is only the land within 10 meters of the boundary of the construction of the property. So maybe you're only going to get, say, 500 or 600 square meters when you thought you're going to get a full acre. Okay, number 9. So issue number 9 is structural integrity issues. So at the end of the day, you might buy a property. It could be an older condominium. It could be something like an older house or something like that. It looks great from the outside, but perhaps they've covered something up. Maybe they've painted over the roof, or that they've sealed a crack or something. And what you actually find out later is there's structural problems with the property. Now this can be avoided, and the way to avoid this is to get an engineer out and find out, is it structurally safe and sound before you buy the property. Okay, so unpaid tax, debts and or penalties. Believe it or not, this can happen. So what happens is you purchase a property and then you find out a little bit later down the track that actually the person that owned the property previously, they didn't pay the tax. They didn't pay the tax in 5 or 10 years. So there could be penalties and taxes of millions of pesos that you don't know about. And again, this is why you need to seek advice before buying that property. Brought this up several times in several different videos, and that is actually, as a foreigner, purchasing a freehold title instead of a leasehold. It is illegal. You could go to court, mate. They could hold you in the country. They can sue you. They can take your property. They can even send you to prison because you're circumventing the law. If it was me, I would not be trying to use some vehicle, some company or something to purchase land or house and land on a freehold title. Just skip it. Buy a leasehold. So this is an interesting one. Sometimes you get those fly-by-nighter developers, and you'll pay a deposit, or you might even pay 50 or 100%. And I've seen it happen, believe it or not. They bought a condominium and they've said, okay, if you buy this condominium now, we'll give you a 20 or 30% discount. It's a really good price. But it's not a good price. It's not a good deal because the property never gets built. So maybe you pay 100% and you get a 20 or 30% discount. But at the end, guess what? You got nothing. You got ripped off. So be careful when buying off the plan. You need to buy from reputable developers. Okay, something interesting that some people may or may not have known about is the fault lines, particularly in a place like Manila. Okay, so in the Philippines, actually, you have the Ring of Fire. Now, the Ring of Fire is like, your fault lines and this sort of thing. Believe it or not, mate, the government has approved, some huge developments like 50, 60, 70-story buildings, apartment complexes, and they're built close to and or on the fault line. Hello, earthquake. So if that happens, an earthquake happens, you're living in the apartment, guess what? Your life is at risk. You could die. Think about that one. Check the fault lines before you buy. Is actually obtaining the documentation. So in Australia, what happens is we have conveyancing solicitors and we have lawyers. So when we purchase a property, when we pay our money, right, we pay our stamp duty and automatically we get our title, our ownership, our piece of paper, and in Australia it's mainly electronic. But in the Philippines, it's not that way. It is registered, but actually you need a physical title, a piece of paper that says that you own it. Unfortunately, it does take a number of months, sometimes years, to get that piece of paper. I don't know why. It's crazy. I don't know what the government institutions are doing. In Australia, like I said, it's like simultaneously when you pay. But here in the Philippines, mate, it could take months or years to get your title after paying in full. What you need to do, hire a solicitor and make sure it is a clear or clean title. Okay, this is one issue I have personally experienced myself, and that is plumbing or electrical problems. In this place here where I am now, most of the electrics do work, but some of the ports like this one just here and the one over here, they don't work because they've never been wired up. Why? I don't know. Maybe they want it to look like it works so you pay more, but in actual fact it doesn't work. It's never been wired up. That's a huge issue for me. Okay, the second thing is plumbing. So at the moment I've got a leaky tap. Now I'm going to replace all the faucets, and it shouldn't cost that much, and you know it's not that big of a deal, but you know they're using like 60 peso, like $1.20 faucets, and they leak. So I've got to replace all the faucets throughout the whole house. Sucks. Fraud. Oh mate, I hate this one. This is why, again, you need to hire a solicitor, a lawyer, to help you with the process of actually purchasing a property. Fraud does happen. So someone could say, here's this dream property, it's a beachfront property, it's a gorgeous home, it's on the perfect title that you want, it's a clear title, it's everything that you ever dreamed of, it's your dream home. But guess what? They don't own it. So they could fraudulently change the document to say their name. So you need to check it out before you buy and make sure they are the real owner. Because otherwise, you pay them money, but they don't have the right to sell you the property. So they steal your money, they disappear, you end up with nothing but a court case and a headache to try and get the property that you bought from someone that doesn't own it. Happens, believe it or not. Hire a lawyer. The number one issue in the Philippines is this. Okay, there's a lot of properties or land that was never titled. And there's a good reason why it was not titled. The reason is the government wanted to preserve that land as rainforest or something like that. So you're not actually allowed to build a house there. So what happens is some people, squatted, or they just took land for themselves, they build a property. And the government didn't want to move them on. So what they did is they said, okay, you've got to pay tax to live here. So technically it's like a lease. They don't want to move them on, but they're going to make them pay tax, and they're going to give them what's called a tax declaration. It's a document to prove that you pay the tax. That does not mean that you own the land. Be careful. Make sure you're getting title ownership and they have a proper titled land. Okay, not a tax declaration, because if you buy something on tax declaration, guess what? Again, you don't own it. Don't do it. Number one reason.